Part 6. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 51. Back at the inn, Chi Changjai asked Guyao, "Want to enter Tianfu Academy?" Guyao nodded, "What about you, brother Ye? With your spiritual talent, brother Ye, you can go to any section." Chi Changjai shook his head and said, "That doesn't mean anything to me. Why don't you go to Tianfu Academy with Xiaoao and go around? Besides, I heard that Tianfu Academy has a sword pavilion. It doesn't seem to be easy." Regarding the Jianj, Guyao of course heard other people's comments when shopping. The most exaggerated statement is that out of 10 people who enter the Jianj, 9 out of 10 are stupid and 1 crazy, so now no one dares to step into this Jianj. But there are also some. There is a saying that the dean of Tianfu College successfully came out of the Jianj. He was originally not very talented in cultivation, but he has since climbed to the sky and became the first person in Tianfu College. But it can still stand on the Tianlin continent. But that sword pavilion, there won't be any problem, otherwise, why would there be a saying that 9 fools and 1 mad? Guyao worried. Chi Changjai smiled and said, "Don't worry, I won't rush into the sword pavilion. I will find out the situation first, and not everyone is qualified to step into the sword pavilion." When Guyao Guang heard the name Zhang Pavilion, he thought of the pill pavilion on his body, and called out to Senior Su Chen in his mind, "Senior, have you heard of the Jian Pavilion? There is a pill pavilion and a Jian Pavilion, will it be related?" Su Chen slowly woke up and sneered, "In the ancient remote sea of consciousness, when you see more of the world, you will know the so-called pill pavilion, the sword pavilion, and in the world of self-cultivation, there are many, and pill. Don't think about things like Lu Dang Danfan, not everyone has this good luck, and they will encounter good things as soon as they touch them." Guyao thought about it too. He wasn't embarrassed by being laughed at for his shallow knowledge, and now he should find a way to raise more spirit stones. It turned out that the Lingzhu found in Yuanyang town is a good thing. The Lingxi is generally in the hands of the 3 families and other major forces, and it is difficult for ordinary cultivators to reach it. Not to mention entering Tianfu College, the consumption in Shifang City is several times higher than that in Yuanyang town. The two discussed it, and decided to sell some medicinal pills and magic talismans secretly during this time. Before in Yuanyang town, because of concerns about the Gu family and the Lu family, they did not dare to take good things. However, this Tenfang city is big enough. No matter how many medicinal talismans are sold with the strength of the 2 of them, the amount is like a stream flowing into the sea. So then the 2 of them went out alone and found several shops that bought medicine pills and talismans, and sold some of them. Guyao also specifically inquired about the price of the top-grade pills, and the price was really gratifying. If it can be doubled, then the top-grade pill can be doubled or even more than doubled on the basis of the top-grade pill. After all, the top-grade pill is rare, and the supply is far less than the demand. This made Guyao also realize that the top-grade pill cannot be taken out at will. It turns out that the best quality pills are also very scarce outside. After selling the medicinal talisman, I bought the raw materials for alchemy and making the talisman. Before in Yuanyang town, due to the lack of spirit grass, some medicinal herbs Guyao had no chance to try. Sure enough, the big place is different. It was purchased in the market, and with these medicinal herbs, Guyao's cultivation speed could be improved, and after his cultivation level rose, he could refine more advanced medicinal pills. This was a process of a virtuous circle. Guyao gave up the spirit orb, and when he was cultivating, the spirit gathering plate was filled with spirit stones. Under the double stimulation of the medicine pill, Guyao felt that his heart was pounding. His practice in the past was like driving an old classic car. Shining. I'm excited now. It's just some low-quality spirit stones. When you leave here and go to the higher-level cultivation continent, you'll know that the low-quality spirit stones are just things to send people away. Su Chen gave Guyao pour cold water on. Gu Yao was still happy, and showed no sign of being attacked. He licked his lips and replied, "But senior can't even get a low-grade spirit stone out now. So don't remember the past, people, you have to be down to earth, or you will end up with the result of the physical destruction of the predecessors today." Of course, he also slandered what he said later, and didn't dare to say it in front of Su Chen. Who knows if he would be angry and angry for himself. Gu Yao always felt that he lived in the pill pavilion of his own sea of knowledge. The hidden danger is not that I didn't think about moving the pill pavilion out, but that thing just likes to stay in his sea of knowledge. There is really no way. After taking a few pills and magic talismans, their net worth skyrocketed. After learning that the number of spirit stones on Chi Changai's body had exceeded 1,000, Gu Yao laughed like a cat that stole a fishy smell. At this time, someone also went to the shop where Gu Yao sold medicinal pills. The shopkeeper, "Do you still have the top grade Baiwa Dan you bought here before?" The shopkeeper said apologetically, "It's already sold out. There are middle grade and low grade Baiwa pills, as well as other medicinal pills. Deist friends, can you take a look?" The cultivator who came to buy the pills was extremely disappointed, but he asked with hope, "Is there any pills made by the same alchemist as the top grade Baiwa pill?" The shopkeeper couldn't help but smile bitterly. "No, the number of pills that the alchemist shot is not many, it seems a little unusual, and there are not one or two people who come back to buy pills like fellow deists, so they will be empty soon. I'm also waiting for that alchemist to come back, but I haven't seen anyone. I should have asked if I knew earlier." But the shopkeeper has not figured it out until now. The alchemist who came to sell the pills is still the person who resells the pills. Because the amount of pills is small, although the quality is good, the shopkeeper didn't pay too much attention at first, until the person who took pills. The cultivator came to the door, and the shopkeeper himself regretted using one. He didn't inquire about the situation clearly to keep the person. A few more cultivators came in during the conversation. By looking at their clothes, they knew that they were disciples of the Northern Star section. The shopkeeper treated them respectfully. Unexpectedly, they also inquired about the situation of the top-grade Baiwa Dan and the alchemist. The shopkeeper had to repeat what he said before. Once again, at the same time, I regret it even more. If the alchemist is kept, maybe it is time for his shop to take off. Senior brother, that person is selling a secret medicine pill. Maybe the medicine pill came from an improper source. It must not have been refined by himself. I can't find anyone, so let's forget it. A female disciple looked at senior brother Yan Yangwei. He frowned and said, "Busy." Senior brother, even if the alchemist himself came to sell it, it is likely to be an alchemist from other sects, because he didn't want to expose his sect, so he kept it secret. After all, where is the alchemist so easy to cultivate, and can make high-grade medicine pills? Yes, it shouldn't be a nameless person, another male disciple advised. Yan Yang sighed and said, "What you said is also reasonable." The shopkeeper, "If the alchemist comes again, please send us a message." The shopkeeper immediately understood that this was because the North Star sect saw this alchemist and wanted to recruit, and that the North Star sect was not something that a small shop could afford to offend, so he quickly said, "Fellow deist, please rest assured, as long as that alchemist comes, I will definitely friends will be informed." The identity of the cultivator in front of him, the shopkeeper, is very clear, is the direct disciple of the head of the North Star section. He has a very high status among the disciples. I didn't expect that the medicine pill of the unknown alchemist could move this one. If it is really a nameless person, he believes that as soon as such news is released, the alchemist should be eager to join the North Star sect. Yan Yang left a message, "Thank you, treasurer, farewell," turned around and left with a few junior brothers and sisters. The disciple of the Northern Star sect left the store, and the related topics have not been interrupted. The medicinal pill was bought by a disciple in the sect accidentally. He had taken Baiwa Dan before but failed to break through, but this time he was promoted to Qi refining 7 smoothly. He attributed this breakthrough to the medicinal pill. An elder in the same sect looked at another medicinal pill he bought, and asked Yan Yang to check which alchemy master made it. Yan Yang found out after inquiring that this other pill is called Huawan pill, and its function is also used to break through the promotion. Huawandan, its refining method is also somewhat special. If the alchemist was trained by other sects, it would be fine, but if it was a wild alchemist or a small force, it was worth the sect to recruit him. If this alchemist is still young, it is not a problem to become an 8th grade alchemist in the future, and there is no shortage of 9th grade alchemists, but the 8th grade alchemist, especially the 8th grade high-level alchemist, even the Northern Star sect needs to be particularly attracted. Same sound. Junior Sister Yin said, maybe some of the descendants of the 8th rank alchemists stole his medicinal pills. After he came out, the spirit stones were spent, so they secretly sold the medicinal pills for spirit stones. Although those small power and small families have also cultivated them. Alchemists, but they can't even make a middle-grade medicine pill. Recruiting such an alchemist into the door is also a waste of the sect's resources. Even in the Northern Star sect, the cultivation resources are not open to supply the disciples. There is competition among the disciples. If you focus on cultivating other disciples, it means that the resources allocated to other disciples will be relatively less. Yan Yang said gently, since we have met, let's ask, if it's not worth recruiting, zone. The door will not be accepted. The North Star sect is not other forces, any kind of cultivator can be admitted. Senior brother is right. Tianfu College has become more and more outrageous these years. It has become a joke in our Tianlin continent to collect some garbage. Guyao and Qi Changjai passed by, and when the pedestrian was far away, the two stopped to look at each other. Guyao hesitated and said, their Northern Star section, are they looking for an alchemist? It should be, not so coincidental. Qi Changjai shook his head and said, it's not impossible. Guyao obviously didn't realize how high his talent in alchemy was. Compare, it seems that we have to keep a low profile. I have inquired, those sects are very short of 8th grade alchemists, especially 8th grade senior alchemists. Xiaoao, Huajingdan will not be sold in the future. He also ignored that Huawandan was not scarce in Lingyun sect, so he didn't care after Guyao refined it at first, and sold it together with other medicinal pills. In the past few days, there have been many places and many sides. After inquiring about some news, I realized that the cultivation situation here is a lot behind compared to his previous places. If a sect like the Northern Star sect knows that Guyao is just a wild alchemist, he will never be spared. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 52. The temporary residence of the ancient family. Guyu and the other disciples of the Gu family came back from the outside and saw Guyan shouting, "Brother, have you heard that there are people selling high-grade Baiwa pills outside, and many sects are checking who the alchemy masters are? Eldest brother, is this alchemist really so powerful?" Sister Yu, it is also said that the junior of an 8th grade alchemist sold it secretly, so he would hide his identity. If it was an 8th grade alchemist, it would not be surprising to refine the top grade Baiwa pill Gugu. Yang Jin went on to say that everyone knows that 8th rank alchemists are often foundation building cultivators, who have been immersed in alchemy for many years. Although the children of the Gu family were instructed by their elders before entering the city, they had to be careful outside and not be arrogant, but they still felt that relying on the ancient family's alchemy skills, they were no weaker than the forces next to them, but they didn't see it until they walked around the city. In reality, although alchemists are popular, what they need are those who can refine 9th grade high-grade medicinal pills or even 8th grade medicinal pills. When they were in Yuanyang town, they did not mention the 9th rank and 8th rank alchemists, and they all called them low-level, intermediate-level and high-level alchemists. They were just deceiving themselves. A 9th-level low-level alchemist could show off in Yuanyang town. The shopkeeper didn't like the low-level pills they took out, which made the disciples of the Gu family suffer a lot. Hearing that the Northern Star sect is tracking down the alchemist behind the high-grade Baiwa pill, the disciples of the Gu family could not help but feel all kinds of envy, jealousy, and hatred. High-grade Baiwa pill, Guyan clenched his fists when he heard this. This kind of medicinal pill was also very tempting to him. The Gu family could get Baiwa pill, but only the low grade. The middle grade also depends on luck, which is rare. With high-grade Baiwa Dan, becoming a high-level qi refining cultivator is a sure thing. I think it might be some ignorant junior alchemist who sold it secretly. Alchemists are not so easy to train, let alone said to be a senior alchemist. What about Gu Yao? He is already an intermediate-level alchemist, and he often produces middle-grade high-grade pills, someone whispered from behind, causing Gu Yang and the others to turn blue and white. Gu Yan frowned, and he thought Gu Yao's figure also flashed before, but he was quickly thrown away. In his opinion, Gu Yao is lucky enough to be an intermediate alchemist at this age. How could he be a senior alchemist, not to mention his cultivation base is there, but he is only a 5th-level qi refining cultivator, and he has no ability to refine jade. Huadan. Fortunately, he was about to enter Changxianmen. I believed that there would be no shortage of high-grade Baiwadan in a large sect like Changxianmen. Guyan quickly cheered up. Guyan said sternly, "Okay, this is not something that our Gu family can intervene in. It is true that we practice hard." "Yes, eldest brother, eldest young master." The same scene happened in the temporary residence of the Lu family. The children of the Lu family also tended to be the descendants of the 8th-grade alchemists, and they made some sour words. If you want me to say, although the cultivators of those sects are higher than us, they are not piled up by medicine pills. If we don't always have the good medicine pills of the middle grade and the top grade, we may all run to the level of cultivation. They went ahead. "Eldest young master, do you think so?" Lu Minbei came out in a bad mood this time. The three families, Guyan, Tianfi Yang, were with him in Yuanyang town. The above is a person of the same name, but Guyan won the Changxianmen token. Even Tianfi Yang's reputation has soared because of his aunt in the foundation period, and his cultivation progress is faster than him. He killed monsters along the way. The two of them also contributed a lot, and even the children of the Lu family expressed envy and admiration for them when they talked privately. Not to mention the latecomers Qi Changjai and Gu Yao, who finally stole the limelight from their three family members. Lu Minbei, after all, the cultivation base built with medicinal pills is not as solid as ours. I think that the person selling medicinal pills must be an ignorant junior of an 8th-rank alchemist. When his identity is revealed, he will definitely be reprimanded. Lu Minbei believed in his heart that he was a who relied on the shadow of his ancestors. He must have spent all the spirit stones outside and sold the medicinal pills. If he had such an elder and high-grade medicinal pills in his hands, he would not be a young monk in Yuanyang town. The first person, even in this 10-square city, will be a well-known young man. The top-grade Baiwa Dan was also sold casually. It would be better for such a scoundrel to be drunk and die in the flower building. Lu Minbei's words were echoed by many disciples of the Lu family. When Gu Yao and Qi Changjai returned to the inn, the Tianfirong brothers were also talking about the high-grade Baiwa Dan, and seeing them coming back, Tianfirong told them the news from the Tian family. They all said, "Which second ancestor? The spirit stones are all gone, so I sneaked out to sell the pills I stole from the elders. Haha, I don't know which 8th-grade pill master was unlucky. There is such a poor junior. It's a pity that our Tian family was unlucky and didn't buy it." As for the medicinal pills thrown by the 2nd-generation ancestor, the medicinal pills refined by the 8th-grade alchemists, I can supply them later. Gu Yao and Qi Changjai glanced at each other and both saw the other's surprised eyes, but they quickly covered it up, while Su Chen laughed in Gu Yao's sea of knowledge, laughing at them that the monks here have little knowledge, but they are just a high-grade Baiwa Dan. I thought that only 8th grade alchemists could make it, and the level of alchemy in this place was so poor. Tian Fei Yang brought a cup of spirit tea to the two of them. Gu Yao took it and said thanks, holding the tea and smiling. How did this matter spread so quickly? Did you find the second ancestor? If Qi Changjai didn't know the truth, seeing Gu Yao smilingly talking about the second ancestor, he wouldn't know that he was talking about himself, and a soft smile flashed in his eyes. Tian Firong shook his head. How can you are the second generation ancestor, you must have good things on your body, how can it be so easy to be seen through? But according to me, he continued with smacking his mouth, for those big sect disciples, it shouldn't be difficult to find out. We don't know the situation, but they know which 8th rank alchemists, and which 8th rank alchemists have unsatisfactory juniors. They should know after checking them one by one. Gu Yao hurriedly lowered his eyes to drink tea, afraid that he would miss the smile in his eyes. He didn't know which unlucky person was caught in the end, but it was definitely not himself. Tian Firong said again with high eyebrows, if you want me to say, we don't have to envy that second ancestor. When Gu Yao becomes a high-level qi refining cultivator, then what kind of high-grade Baiwa Dan will not be a problem at all. The second ancestor has a good elder. But he Tian Firong has a good brother. Gu Yao, let's go to Tianfu Academy together, we can continue to be together. Okay, brother Ye and I have this intention, we can have a company then. Gu Yao nodded with a smile. Great, big brother, did you hear me? I have decided to enter Tianfu Academy. Big brother, you can go to Tian Haizong with confidence. Just come and see us when you have time, Tian Firong said happily, and said in a low voice, if you are short of medicinal herbs, just come to Tianfu College, Gu Yao will definitely give you a low price. Gu Yao, right? No problem, Gu Yao replied with a smile. Seeing Qi Changjai, Tian Fei Yang also agreed to enter Tianfu Academy. Although he didn't understand why he chose to do so, he had to say that with the two of them around, he felt a little more at ease with Tian Firong. Seeing Gu Yao's actions in Yuanyang town, he knew that he was a calm person, otherwise his alchemy skills would have been exposed long ago, and it would have been so easy to leave the Gu family. Yes, Tian Fei Yang believed that Gu Yao had started to practice alchemy early, but because of his embarrassing position in the ancient family, he never showed it. He also believed that he had alchemy by his side, so he dared to leave the ancient family, not afraid of leaving the ancient family. Training resources. After leaving the eyes of the Tian family brothers, Gu Yao couldn't hold back his laughter and bent over. Oh my god, he didn't know when he became the second generation ancestor of an 8th grade alchemist elder, and he even stole the elder's elixirs to sell. Lingxi spends a lot of time outside. Is it because these cultivators have too little entertainment, so they are so brainy? Qi Changjai also had a smile in his eyes, rubbed Gu Yao's head and said that this was just right, but then we can't take medicine pills anymore, we'll talk about it after entering Tianfu Academy. Just considering that his identity will be exposed, his magic talisman has never been shot in the same shop as Gu Yao's medicine pill, lest people associate him and Gu Yao. Gu Yao nodded, tears bursting out of his eyes. Now that the spirit stones are enough, it's better to watch the play. He stretched out his hand to wipe away the tears from the corners of his eyes and said with a smile, brother Ye, they won't really let them find a second generation ancestor. Well, that would be interesting. The corners of Qi Changjai's mouth twitched. It is not impossible, there will be no shortage of such a second ancestor anywhere, otherwise it will not make people think like this. In the next few days, Gu Yao will be more peaceful. Anyway, Tianfu College is on the edge of Shifang City, and you can go shopping at any time in the future, so I stay in my room very honestly, either cultivating or reading and practicing alchemy. When I came out to chat with Tian Firong, and listened to him talking about the gossip in the city outside, the Tian family still had some information channels. For example, the arrogant and domineering children of some family brought their old habits to Shifang City. They saw a beautiful female cultivator and pursued them aggressively, but they didn't expect the other party to have a lot of history. In order to avoid disaster, the family had to stay overnight. Hurry up to withdraw from Shifang City, and even the Ascension Conference was delayed by a domineering child. It is estimated that the children of that family can't wait to dismember that guy. There were 2 other male cultivators from the sect, who fought jealously outside for another female disciple of the North Star section. In the end, they alerted the city guard and the elders of the 2 sects, and brought their respective disciples back, without a punishment. It is indeed much more lively here than Yuanyang town. Tianfirong danced and danced, Guyao was holding a cup of tea and listened with relish. The 2 were in perfect harmony. Tianfiyang occasionally met and rolled his eyes. He said why Guyao he will especially take a fancy to his younger brother, it seems that the reason is here. Guyao, Guyao, Tianfirong yelled from the outside and ran in. The second ancestor who stole the pill and sold the pill appeared. He was caught. Guyao just came out of the room. When he heard this, his jaw almost dropped. He quickly grabbed it, blinked his eyes curiously and asked, "Who is it? Which alchemist's junior is it?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 53. There is a force in Tianlin continent called Qian Valley. Although it is not as good as a sect force like Baizingzong, it is well respected by all parties because of its expertise in alchemy. His alchemy talent is now an 8th rank high-ranking alchemist, and he is the most promising cultivator in Tianlin continent to become a 7th rank alchemist. This is naturally a person who is not easily offended by all parties. Tianfirong poured a large cup of tea, wiped his mouth, and continued to explain to Guyao and Qi Changjai, this master Hugu has a smooth journey, but he didn't expect the son to be unhappy. He and other female cultivators in his early years there was a period of dewy love, but then he entered a secret place to cultivate, and he did not return to Qian Valley until the foundation and the alchemy skills rose sharply. I gave birth to a son, but the son's aptitude is not good, and because he has no background, he married a wife and had children early, and unfortunately both of the husband and wife died when they went out to practice, leaving a child. At that time, Huguzu hadn't succeeded the Guzu, and he regretted it in his heart. He had a son when he didn't know it. Unfortunately, the father and son didn't even see each other before the son died, so he took his grandson by his side to raise him. I probably feel that I owe too much. Huguzu is very fond of this grandson. In addition, he is obsessed with cultivation and alchemy, so most of the time he leaves his grandson to the people in Gilai to take care of. Over time, this is called Huike. It was raised crooked, and when Huguzu found out that he wanted to correct it, I heard that he often couldn't make a ruthless attack. Originally, Yang would not participate in the Immortal Ascension Conference, but some time ago, Huike made a scandal. I heard that he liked a female cultivator, but people didn't like him, and he was sued by the elders of the woman to Huguzu. Huguzu went down. He was so heartless that he wanted to imprison Huike and put him in the forbidden area. This kid couldn't bear the pain, so he somehow bought the person who was in charge of him to sneak out, only to be found out that he ran into Shifang City. Tianfirong swallowed his saliva and said excitedly, after I heard that the news came back to Qian Valley, Hugu mainly came to Shifang City in person. When Huguzu came, he would definitely attract a lot of big people to come, so this time the promotion of Immortal. The conference was very lively. You don't know, the guys from the Gu family who don't know the sky and the earth are actually gearing up for a chance to get the eyes of the Qian Valley cultivator. One step to the sky, but in my opinion, those guys are all wishful thinking and daydreaming. Qi Changjai folded his arms and looked at Tianfirong coldly. This guy from the 3rd level of Qi refining actually said that the people of the Gu family don't know how high the sky is. Where did this guy come from? Guyao didn't expect that there would be such an episode. He was a little interested and asked, "Where is this man named Hu Yk now?" Tianfirong laughed loudly, "This kid is slippery," and he slipped away just after revealing his identity. It is said that he developed his skills in Qian Valley, but what is certain is that this guy is definitely still in Shifang City. By the way, I heard that I am a fat man, maybe we have a chance to meet him. Guyao laughed, and Qi Changjai paused his practice and went out for a walk. Sure enough, Shifang City became more lively, and I heard that many people were looking for Hu Yk and wanted to find him before Hu Guzu arrived. Hu Gu is in charge of their favor, and it is natural to ask for Dan. Of course, it is also possible that he had the idea of hitting him with medicinal pills. Maybe he even had 8th-grade medicinal pills on him, as well as countless spiritual stones. He would definitely make a fortune if he robbed him. Then he would hide and practice for 10 or 8 years. No matter how big the energy is, there is nothing to do. It's a pity, just as Tianfirong said, this kid is very slippery. The fat cultivator found quite a few, but none of them fit. In this way, the Ascension Conference came as scheduled. The Tian family brothers, Guyao and Qi Changjai, have nothing to worry about, they all have a place to go, just wait for the morning to report a good name and go to other places to watch the excitement, it will be eye-opening. For the other younger brothers, the Tian family of course encourages them. Those who join other sects in the assessment will not only be encouraged but also given resource support. These children will be the pillars of the family in the future. However, the sect is not so easy to enter. The Tian family does not have no children to join other sects in the 10-year promotion conference. However, after many years, they have either been unknown, or they have perished while practicing abroad, but as long as there is a person like Tian Ru, the Tian family is willing to spend a lot of money even if they succeed in building a foundation. Guyao, hurry up, over there, Tianfirong urged Guyao back while running forward to go to the reporting points of Tianfu College. Suddenly a person rushed out, Guyao hurriedly shouted, "Be careful!" But it was still too late. The person who rushed out collided with Tianfirong, who called him backwards. There are not many people on the side, but the two of them can still run into each other. Ayo, do you have eyes, kid? You knocked him over while blocking his way, he can't spare you. A fat man got up from the ground, covered his forehead and twisted his waist again. Angrily shouted at Tianfirong, who got up on the other side. Bah! Who is the one who doesn't have eyes? Obviously I'm walking well, but you rushed over and hit me. I haven't even asked you to settle the account, young master. I'm still your uncle. You're dead. Fatty, Tianfirong wasn't good-natured either. How could Tian Er Shao in Yuanyang town scolded him and scolded the little fat man on the spot? Who are you scolding? Look at me crushing you to death. The little fat man gritted his teeth and scuffled with Tianfirong. Guyao stared at him. Qi Changjai was unable to hold his forehead, and he couldn't help laughing. Since he fell from the crack in the space to this place and lost his cultivation, it seems that he can't maintain his previous image and mentality. The two people who rolled into a ball, in the past, went straight to Qi Changjai, and they would not take a second look. They would find this kind of person extremely boring. Kind of boring thing. Now, I have Xiangxin and Guyao to watch the fight between these two naive ghosts. Both of them can see that, although they seem to be fighting fiercely and their mouths are not forgiving, but both of them are weak at first, and secondly they didn't use their spiritual power, and they all fought with their bodies, so they didn't intervene, and let them fight. You punched me and kicked me. The tonnage of the little fat man is still quite dominant. In the end, Tianfirong was actually at a disadvantage. He was beaten so that his face was blue and purple. Of course, the little fat man was not much better, and his face was unsightly. The last two, if you stare at me, I stare at you, or the little fat man will speak first. Where are you going? The two of them are with you. Fatty, What does it have to do with you where we're going? We're going to Tianfu College to go through the admission procedures. You're going to delay our important affairs. I can't cut you to death. Tianfirong quickly took out the medicine he brought from Guyao. Apply the medicine to the wound. Tianfu Academy, the little fat man suddenly showed contempt, because who didn't know that those who would go to Tianfu Academy would not be a promising monk, but then his eyes rolled, and a smile appeared on his face. He stretched out his hand and put his hand on Tianfirong's shoulder. I'll accompany you for a walk. I've decided, I will join Tianfu Academy as well. Go away, who wants to be with you? If you want to call your brother, I will try to cover you in the future. Look behind you. This is my brother. We are three of you. Tianfirong pointed to the two Guyao who were watching the fun. Said proudly. The more this is the case, the more the little fat man refuses to leave, and it seems that he will depend on Tianfirong, so the last three-person group turned into a four-person group, and they came to the Tianfu Academy on the square together. The central square of Shifang City is large enough, but it seems that the monks from the entire Tianlin continent have gathered here in the past few days, almost bursting the huge square. Many places are crowded with people, but there are also a few stalls that are very quiet and spacious. For example, Tianfu College is one of them. The teacher in charge of recruiting students this time is so bored that he sits there and plays haha. He rubbed his tearful eyes. Said angrily, this Qian Valley is also here to join in the fun, which makes our Tianfu Academy even more deserted. Obviously, our Tianfu Academy is not short of everything, and let the students develop freely, no better than those schools. The door is strong? Don't let me know which stinky boy named Hu YK is, or I'll have to beat his ass. While scolding Hu YK, the teacher slapped the table in front of him loudly. Someone walking here heard the loud voice, subconsciously clamped his butt, took a look forward carefully, and poked Tianfirong and said, "Brother, why don't we change places? This Tianfu Academy has a bad reputation." Tianfirong sang the opposite of the little fat man, shook his head and said, "No, I'll just look at Tianfu College. If you don't like it, you can go to other places by yourself." He has to be able to enter other places, Tianfirong said silently in his heart. Another student said, "Senior Fang, it will get better in a few days. Those monks who can't enter other sects will naturally run to our Tianfu Academy." In fact, this was not the case in previous years, and they were waiting for other sect disciples to receive more or less, and those who were eliminated would come to Tianfu Academy to find opportunities. Ah! You think I don't know? Those are picked up from other places, and our Tianfu Academy only collects garbage. Teacher Fang was still scolding angrily. Suddenly his eyes squinted, and he saw that the four people who came here quickly put their legs up on the table, rubbed their faces, tried their best to make a fierce face a little kinder, and squeezed out a smile that they thought was very gentle, facing the four people beckon. "Little guys, you have a good eye, and you know that you will come directly to our Tianfu Academy." Tianfirong and Little Fatty paused and looked at each other. They also heard the previous conversation. Is it really okay to enter this kind of academy? Guyao twitched the corners of his mouth, but there was a hint of nostalgia in his eyes. This teacher Fang was a bit similar to a military boss he had been in contact with in his previous life. His hobby was to squeeze himself desperately, but when he was true when it happened, this boss was also the first to stand up to defend himself. Later, he had an accident. I wonder if the boss would set off a storm within the alliance. The little fat man approached Tianfirong and said in a low voice, "It's really all right. Why don't we hurry up and withdraw?" Tianfirong was about to hesitate, and wanted to turn his head to ask Guyao's opinion behind him, but what kind of strength does Teacher Fang have? Such a whisper can be hidden from his ears. At the moment, he put away his self-friendly face, and suddenly became fierce and vicious. He stretched out his hand and grabbed it, and said in a vicious voice, "You two little bastards, don't let me get over here, enter someone's territory and pay me back. Want to withdraw? Honestly, take out the entry fee. Tian Firong and Little Fatty were strangled by an invisible force, and they were dragged to the front of the Tianfu Academy group. Seniors, don't be angry, keep your image, keep the image of our Tianfu Academy, and winked at Tian Firong and the little fat man. Quickly talk about entering our academy. Teacher Fang loves our Tianfu Academy the most, and no one can question it. The sound of coughing and choking became louder in the back, and some people were unable to hold their foreheads. Tianfu Academy was ruined by them. Fortunately, there are few people now, otherwise they would have to be scared away by the appearance of the two of them. Dare to step into Tianfu Academy's territory? Tian Firong managed to squeeze out his voice, his face flushed red. So the restraint on his body was immediately removed, and he regained his freedom. Tian Firong quickly hid aside and looked at Teacher Fang with lingering fears. What kind of cultivation is he? The little fat man's reaction was a bit slow, and he couldn't make a sound, so he could only nod his head desperately, which means that he also agreed to pay the entry fee. As soon as the spiritual power dissipated, the little fat man slumped on the ground, and Teacher Fang burst into laughter. I just said that if someone from my side came out in person, how could Tianfu Academy not be able to recruit students? When you enter the academy, you will knowing that our Tianfu Academy is no worse than those Northern Star section. The laughter stopped, and he touched his chin and looked at Gu Yao and Qi Changjai behind him, his eyes flashing with interest. You. Gu Yao was busy with current affairs and said, I came here to sign up to enter the academy on purpose, and pulled Qi Changjai aside. He is following me. Boy, have vision. Teacher Fang was very satisfied and called back, Boy Zhang Yan, come here quickly. Then he turned to look at Gu Yao. What's your name? My name is Gu Yao. Gu Yao hurriedly reported his name. Teacher Fang continued to call, Zhang Yan, go through the admission procedures for Gu Yao. Come on. A gentle voice with helplessness sounded from behind, and then he saw a long and jade-like young male cultivator coming out from behind. His eyebrows and eyes were extremely soft, even if his facial features were not the best, but at this moment his whole person looks like a layer of soft light, which makes people feel very comfortable. Zhang Yan looked at Gu Yao, whom Teacher Fang pointed at, and smiled softly. Gu Yao, come with me. Okay. Gu Yao smiled back, took Qi Changjai and walked towards Zhang Yan, and followed him to a workplace. At this moment, Tian Firong and Little Fatty were going through the formalities with their bitter faces, and the person beside them was the one who sang with Teacher Fang just now. The man turned his head to see Zhang Yan and Gu Yao, and said with a smile, Senior brother Zhang, isn't this the companion who was with junior brother Tian and the others just now? Welcome to our Tianfu Academy. Don't worry, you will never regret it after you come in. Junior brother Zhou, don't say a few words, don't persuade Senior Dian Fang, but follow along with him. Zhang Yan blamed, but Gu Yao's eyes never took his face away, and there was no trace of blame on his face. I couldn't help shaking it twice. This senior brother Zhang looked as genial as the wind, but subconsciously felt that he was less easy to provoke than this senior brother Zhou. Tian Firong and Little Fatty filled out a form with a bitter face as senior brother Zhou said, and then went to test their spiritual roots. Quality, the little fat man muttered, isn't it supposed to test the aptitude first, and then see if the aptitude can enter the door? Senior brother Zhou's mouth twitched, and he reached out and patted the little fat man's shoulder, and said, this is a normal procedure. After you fill out the form and hand in the spirit stone, you are already my junior brother. The qualification test is to arrange for you to practice after entering the academy. Direction. When he said this, he rolled his eyes in his heart. Of course, it is important to charge the registration fee first. If you have good qualifications, you should treat them with good qualifications. If you have poor qualifications, you should not miss any of them. Gu Yao saw the magic tool they used to test the aptitude of Lingan, which was not the same as the one tested in the Gu family before. He stood there and watched curiously. Zhang Yan did not remind them to fill out the form and hand in the spiritual stone. The test instrument is a disc-shaped object with intricate patterns on it. Tian Furong presses it with one hand, and then 3 beams of light are refracted above, 1 red, 1 green and 1 gold, which means that Tian Furong is the qualification of 3 spiritual roots. It is much better than Gu Yao's 4 spiritual roots, but when he sees the beams of light, he knows that the thicknesses of the 3 beams of light are almost the same, and there is no prominent main spiritual root. That is to say, if he gives the 3 spiritual roots if the qualifications are assessed at a high or low level, this is the lowest qualification. Tian Furong was not surprised what he saw, and was about to withdraw his hand when he saw another change on the beam of light. Fire Spirit Root, 23, Wood Spirit Root, 24, Golden Spirit Root 22. Senior Brother Zhou, what is that? Tian Furong asked curiously, pointing to the value displayed above. Senior Brother Zhou shook his eyebrows proudly and said, this is a magic weapon unique to our Tianfu College to test the aptitude of your spiritual roots. The value above represents the purity of your spiritual roots. The higher the value, the better the aptitude and the more spiritual roots. It doesn't necessarily mean that qualifications are poor. But seeing Tian Furong's spiritual root purity value, Senior Brother Zhou's mouth twitched, but he couldn't say anything too comforting. Tian Furong didn't think it was different, and said carelessly, my value is low, so do you still accept it? Accept? Of course I accept. Our academy opens the door to every cultivator who is willing to devote himself to cultivation. It is absolutely not like some sects treat them differently. Senior Brother Zhou shook his head and said sternly. Trust him to be a ghost. It's because they don't treat Lingxi differently. Wei Zhenfei, it's your turn. The little fat man walked over. It turned out that the little fat man's name was Wei Zhenfei. He also put his fat hand on the test instrument plate. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 54. The little fat man really has a relationship with Tian Furong, and he is also qualified for the 3 spiritual roots, but the purity of the spiritual roots is better than that of Tian Furong. Earth Spirit Root, 34, Water Spirit Root, 21, Wood Spirit Root, 13. There is no doubt that the little fat man, that is, Wei Zhenfei, should practice earth-based exercises, and his aptitude is better than Tian Furong, but Gu Yao sees that his cultivation is only the 4th level of qi refining, which is only slightly better than Tian Furong. On some. Gu Yao stared at the test instrument with burning eyes. In fact, after taking the medicine, he wanted to find a test instrument to check his spiritual roots. There is a difference between the feeling and the test result, but he has seen it in Yuanyang Town. The tester is far inferior to the one in front of him. I wonder if there will be a chance to build one in the future. His plan to transform his qualifications is far from over, and he is eager to know the specific values. This little junior brother can't wait to come to the test. Then come here. Senior Brother Zhou waved at Gu Yao with a friendly smile, and he would give to everyone who has thrown himself into the trap. Oh no, those who take the initiative to enter Tianfu Academy need to give the best care. Gu Yao glanced at Qi Changjai. The latter could guess Gu Yao's state of mind at the moment, nodded at him and encouraged him to go for the test. Gu Yao then strode over. This scene fell in the eyes of Zhang Yan and teacher Fang. After a strange look, Qi Changjai entered Tianfu Academy as Gu Yao's entourage in name, but the relationship between the two seemed to be closer than friends. I don't know which big family Gu Yao came out to play. The followers around him are already at the 8th level of qi refining, let alone followers. If he is willing to join Tianfu Academy, the academy will definitely him into the inner courtyard. Now that Gu Yao is about to measure his aptitude, the two have paid more attention to it. If he can refine the 5th level of qi at a young age, his aptitude should be better than the previous two, right? So, is it a double spiritual root? Swish, as soon as Gu Yao put the test instrument in his hand, Four beams of light suddenly appeared, almost blinding Teacher Fang and Zhang Yan's eyes. Teacher Fang had just put his legs on the table again. This result, he was so startled that he almost fell into the stomach of the table, without such a slap in the face. Seeing the surprised and stunned glances from others, Gu Yao didn't take it any surprise, smiled at them with a good temper, and then looked at the value displayed on it. Wood Spirit Root, 28, Fire Spirit Root, 28, Earth Spirit Root, 13, Water Spirit Root, 12. Gu Yao was not at all depressed as others thought, but rather happy, especially after seeing the qualifications of the first two people. He was quite satisfied with his current qualifications. He felt that if he hadn't used the transformation potion, his current wood fire spirit the root purity is at most 20, which is probably not as good as that. Look, he is a little bit worse than the 3 spirit root aptitude now. No, he is better than Tianfirong, who has been manipulated by others, so what is there to be dissatisfied with? Senior brother Joe was stuck for a while, and then tried his best to squeeze out a caring smile. Although junior brother Gu is qualified with 4 spiritual roots, it is not much worse than 3 spiritual roots, especially since junior brother Gu is the master of wood fire. It is very suitable. Studying alchemy, after entering the academy, you may be in the eyes of a teacher who wants you to pass, so work hard and don't slack off. However, Gu Yao had a good impression of senior brother Zhou. It must be very difficult to say such words of comfort and encouragement. Compared with the cold eyes he received before, for the first time, he felt that choosing Tianfu College was not necessarily a last resort. Senior brother Zhou is wrong, Zhang Yan walked over and said with a smile. Xiaoao was able to cultivate to the 5th level of qi refining at such a young age with the aptitude of the 4 spiritual roots. It can be seen that he has some support. According to the senior brother, Xiaoao has already beginning with alchemy techniques. You must be a famous alchemist. Huh? Gu Yao looked at senior brother Zhang curiously, ignoring Zhang Yan's address to him. Gu Yao ignored it. Qi Changjai wasn't so easy to fool, and stared at Zhang Yan unhappily. The first time he saw Gu Yao, he called Xiao Yao so familiarly. The more unhappy he was, the more his aura became. Get cold. Zhang Yan raised the corners of his mouth. The juniors recruited this time are very interesting. Of these two, one is an alchemist and the other is a swordsman. Tianfirong blurted out, how does brother Zhang know? Is it true? Senior brother Zhou said happily. Zhang Yan faced the light with his hands behind his back and smiled and said, because Xiaoao has the unique aura of an alchemist, which is the fusion of fire and Dan incense, so after coming to Shifang City, Xiaoao has also made alchemy. It's very hard work, no wonder you can have this cultivation. Gu Yao raised his sleeves and sniffed in front of his nose. Tianfirong and the little fat man also came over to sniff curiously. There was no smell, but Zhang Yan made a loud noise. The 3 junior brothers were very cute. The black line in the long night was late, and no one else could smell it. Zhang Yan knew that Zhang Yan himself had some special abilities. Gu Yao laughed and said that senior brother Zhang is amazing. I am an alchemist, and I only improved my cultivation by eating some elixirs that I made myself. That Xiaoao's alchemy skills must be very good. Welcome to join our Tianfu Academy. Zhang Yan smiled, presumably at least a 9th rank intermediate alchemist. And us Tianfirong and little fatty scrambled to say, yes, welcome, and this fellow deist Qi. Next, the 4 of them were dragged by senior brother Zhou to popularize the glorious history of Tianfu College. They must have a heart for maintaining Tianfu College, and then they got to know the other senior brothers and sisters present, and the atmosphere was happy. However, Gu Yao also saw the cold field of Tianfu College. After the 4 of them, teacher Fang continued to sit on the cold bench. If he hadn't seen the 4 of Gu Yao, he would have smashed the table with rage. Suddenly, teacher Fang put his legs down, looked at a certain direction in the air, recognized it for a while, and then scorned. It turns out that the old guy from Qian Valley has finally come. This is a big enough pomp, isn't it? Can need pills, what a big deal. Acid. This sounds so sour. Senior, alchemy is not as simple as rubbing pills, otherwise the alchemist would not be so precious. Zhang Yan reluctantly corrected, but when Master Hugu arrives, there must be a Tianfu Academy to welcome us. The tone behind this more helpless. The little fat man looked into the distance, his eyes flashing. Qian Valley Huguzu and his party have just arrived in Shifang City. This time, the city lord actually walked out of the city lord's mansion to meet the Hugu lord. You must know which forces came before, but they failed to alert this mysterious and powerful city lord. Grown-ups. Not only the city lord himself, but all the sects in the city, such as the Northern Star sect Tianhaimen, all have leading elders and important disciples on the list. The only regret is that after several days of searching, they did not find the whereabouts of Hu Yk. Although they also despised this second-generation ancestor, he actually made a pill for stealing his grandfather. The act of selling it out, but who made this second ancestor have an 8th grade senior alchemist who protects his shortcomings as his grandfather. Master Hugu is here, and the city lord has lost his way to welcome him. The city lord, whose hair and beard were all white, looked immortal, and bowed to Hu Ting, who got off the aircraft. House. Hu Ting has no reason to disagree with the lord of Shifang City. This is a rare Jindan cultivator in Tianlin continent. If it wasn't for his status as an alchemist, how could it be possible only with his strength in the later stage of foundation establishment? In the eyes of the city lord, it's better to be respectful than to obey. According to the words of the city owner, Kui Yangwu and his party have been disturbed. Alchemy master who is very polite, please. City lord please. Other people with important identities were also invited by the city lord's mansion to go together, and countless onlookers cast envious and longing glances. The Gu family and his party were also alarmed by this movement. They watched the aircraft fly over the square, and then saw Lord Hugu and his party coming out of the aircraft, and then the city lord flew in the sky. Where can you in Yangtown see this scene? In particular, the group of Qian Gu and his party were so favorably treated, which made their desire to join Qian Gu even stronger. Look at the disciples of Qian Valley behind Hugu, all of them are extremely arrogant. It is estimated that even the disciples of the Northern Star sect have to respect them. This is the treatment that an alchemist should have, Gu Yang said with emotion. The elders of the Gu family were also very excited. Wait and see, maybe Qian Valley will recruit disciples, then our Gu family's opportunity will come. In his opinion, the disciples of the Gu family who have entered the alchemy technique will definitely have a greater chance than other cultivators. It's a pity, the Gu family is not powerful enough to be invited by the city lord to enter the city lord's mansion, but then he turned his attention to Gu Yan again. Maybe after Gu Yan joins the Changxianmen, the Gu family will one day receive such courtesy. I don't know where Gu Yao is, and whether he will join any section. Take it down, he is able to refine intermediate-level medicinal herbs again, but which sect will recruit wastewood with 4 spiritual roots? That's right, it's a pity, Gu Yao has 4 spiritual roots, otherwise he wouldn't be ignored. Gu Yao is also true, obviously his aptitude is so poor, and he has such a good alchemy technique and doesn't dedicate it to the family. In that case, the owner of the family Gu Yao will definitely be highly valued. Some people said that they felt that with Gu Yao's aptitude, they could make intermediate-level high-grade medicinal pills, and if they had Gu Yao's pill technique, they would definitely be able to do better than him. Join Kui Yao Tobacco Valley is definitely not a problem. After a few parties in the city lord's mansion, they went to the main topic. Hu Ting really came out for his grandson. He didn't bring anyone around him. With his cheer-refining stage and his identity, he could be used by other people outside. The cultivator killed him unknowingly. How could Hu Ting not be worried, thinking that this was the only route left by his son who had never seen him? He couldn't wait to drive it out. Master Hugu, Yan Yang stepped forward and offered a jade bottle. This is a Huajing pill that my junior brother in my sect bought from outside. I don't know if it came from the hands of Hu junior brother. Hu Guzu glanced at Yan Yang approvingly. His grandson was too poorly qualified. Just like his father, none of them had inherited his wood and fire roots. If Yan Yang's qualifications were as good as his, he wouldn't have to worry about where he went. Regrettably withdrew his gaze, opened the jade bottle and poured out the medicinal pill. After checking, his face changed, and he said, "This is not the medicinal pill I made." Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 55. Really? City Lord Meng asked with great interest. Hu Guzu affirmed, "Who will not fail to recognize the medicinal pill he made? This medicinal pill is indeed not from the hand of Hu, but the medicinal master's pill technique is very clever. I don't know who it is, and who wants to know it very much. A while. At his level, it is difficult to find peers to learn about alchemy techniques, and it feels like a lonely begging for defeat." Yan Yang couldn't help but be disappointed, but he quickly cheered up. If it wasn't Hu Guzu, it meant that it was another alchemist. He could get the affirmation of Hu Guzu, indicating that the alchemist's alchemy skills might not be under Hu Guzu, so he could find this person. Wouldn't it be better to come out? Master Hugu, it turned out that we misunderstood. The medicinal pills were not passed down from the hands of the junior brother. We have only been paying attention to looking for the junior brother Hu these days. Check it out. So it turns out, this matter has nothing to do with you. Hu Guzu also knew that others had helped him find his grandson, and he couldn't find them, so he turned his attention to the medicine pill. If this child is still young, who would be interested in accepting him as a disciple and cultivating him? Yan Yang said, "It's very possible. According to the investigation, the pills that the alchemist shot are all high-grade 9th grade pills, and they must not have logged into the 8th grade pill master's lobby. The alchemist will definitely be willing to pay his respects." Hu Guzu rejoiced and said, "Well, this matter will work for everyone. It's easy to say, Lord Hugu, please don't worry, we will also help to find out the whereabouts of Ling Sunday." Kui Yang and his party stayed in the city lord's mansion. When the monks from the North Star sect and other forces left the city lord's mansion, the news that Hu Guzu wanted to accept new disciples quickly spread. A student who went to inquire about the news ran back quickly and said excitedly, "The medicinal pill that appeared some time ago was not sold by Hu Yik's second ancestor, but another medicinal master." Hu Guzu said it, "If it is young, if the cultivator is concerned, he is willing to accept it as a direct disciple." Many people dig their ears. What? It wasn't sold by the second ancestor? That medicinal pill wasn't made by Master Hugu? Yes, yes, the students who were inquiring about the news kept pounding their heads. Hu Guzu himself admitted, and he thought that the alchemist who made the medicinal pill was good at alchemy, and he loved talents. In such a short period of time, there are actually a lot of people saying that the medicine pill was made by them. What kind of bulls, ghosts, snakes, and gods are they? When Lord Hugu is blind, everyone wants to pretend to be. Senior brother Joe laughed. Hey, maybe those cultivators are just trying their luck, maybe they will be favored by Hu Guzu. Even if they are not accepted as direct disciples, it is a good way to enter the Qian Valley. Hearing their conversation, Gu Yao and Qi Changjai looked at each other, thinking that there was an unlucky guy standing in front of him, but he didn't expect to be seen by the righteous so quickly, so why not play like this? Qi Changjai glanced to the side. The little fat man was grinding his teeth, rattling. Tianfirong was listening with relish, and when he heard the strange noise next to him, he gave his elbow. "What are you doing, little fat man?" "I want to eat when I'm hungry." "Thing." The little fat man gritted his teeth twice, matched his expression as if he was going to swallow something raw, stared at Tianfirong sullenly and said, "Don't mess with me again, I've gnawed your flesh." Then he turned around and faced Tian Furong with his butt, sulking all by himself. Chi Changjai raised his eyebrows. Maybe the unlucky guy Guyao was talking about was right beside them. Interesting. Guyao and the others are already students of Tianfu Academy. After receiving the ID card, they are waiting to go to the academy with the large army, so Brother Zhang did not restrain them and let them go to other places, not worried that people would run away. And like Tian Furong, he had to say goodbye to his family before going to the academy. Tian Furong just dragged away the little fat man who refused to move his nest. He was so loyal to his brother, how could he leave the little fat man to play alone? Seeing the silhouettes of the 4 people leaving, Zhang Yan said with a smile, maybe this year's juniors will be an eye-opener for us. Senior brother Zhou shivered. The person he was most afraid of was not teacher Fang, but senior brother Zhang, but he was curious about the answer, but he was still not afraid to die. Senior brother, isn't it 2-3 spiritual roots and 1-4 spiritual roots? Senior brother is so optimistic. Them. One of the 3 spiritual roots is not much better than the 4 spiritual roots. Thinking about the double spiritual roots disciples accepted by other sects. Sad. Senior brother Zhang retracted his gaze and said earnestly, junior brother is too narrow-minded. Our dean is the one with 3 spiritual roots. How can we know that no one of them will take the same path as the dean? Not to mention. Zhang Yan didn't say any more. Guyao's alchemy should not be bad, and Chi Changjai around him is even more incomprehensible. Even if he enters the academy as a follower, it doesn't matter. Maybe the dean will take a fancy to this. As for the followers, it is more likely that they came to the Jianj of Tianfu Academy. Senior brother Zhou patted his mouth, called it to be talkative, and flattered, senior brother, then let me check on how many of them are. Zhang Yan nodded, and senior brother Zhou, who had taken the task, felt honored to complete it without stopping. The 4 of Guyao were wandering around in the square. There were so many people in some places that they had to squeeze in if they wanted to see what was going on. When they tried their best to squeeze in, they were scolded by others, thinking they were here to grab a chance. Where do you think they are here to join in the fun? There are also people who kindly explained for them, if you see that door, and want to join the North Star sect, the first level is to accept the test of that door. Only when the door responds can you enter the door and go to the 2nd and 3rd levels. For example, the Bone Age test, the Spiritual Root Qualification test, and the Spiritual Power and Xingxing Willpower test. Originally, there are more people here. Have you received the news of the direct disciple? Many cultivators ran over there trying to get lucky. Guyao was struck dumb. Tianfu College is so quiet, but seeing how crazy the side wants to squeeze in, it's no wonder teacher Fang is so angry. You don't know that Yan Yang, the elder brother of the Northern Star sect, is the first person in the minds of many female cultivators to seek marriage. Look, many female cultivators are lining up over there to enter the Northern Star section. Once inside, they will meet Yan Yang. There will be more opportunities for senior brother to meet. Maybe he will get the blue eye of senior brother. Then because female cultivators ran here a lot, they attracted a lot of male cultivators too. Haha, it seems that the North Star sect is the smartest. Senior brother Yan Yang is a living sign, and there is no way to recruit good disciples, Tian Furong said with a smirk. Others only regarded him as saying good things, and said to Yurong, no, before the arrival of Huguzu, it was senior brother Yan Yang who went to receive it on behalf of the North Star section. You know how Huguzu knew that the medicine outside was not from there. It came out of the 2nd generation ancestor's hand. Just because senior brother Yan Yang had an elixir sold by that person, he showed it to Master Hugu, and Master Hugu recognized it immediately. Not everyone has such a big face as senior brother Yan Yang. It seems that it is all thanks to senior brother Yan Yang that Huguzu can wash away the grievances of his grandson who stole the medicine and sold it. But he didn't want someone to grind his teeth again, and said angrily, it turns out that the did it, I said before, who YK stole the medicine pill, and it must have come from his mouth, the dignified North Star section, my disciple, to be so servile to Lord Hugu. The North Star sect is just like that. What are you doing? Why are you pulling my clothes? Am I wrong? Tianfirong can't wait to cover the little fat man's mouth, or let him swallow back what he said before. He didn't see so many people around him turning around and staring at the little fat man angrily, thinking of tearing him apart. Even he knew how good Yan Yang's reputation was. He was so belittled by the little fat man that he couldn't attract the entire North Star sect's disciples to kill him. Come on, if you don't want to be hunted down, just run for your life. If you don't run away, we'll go by yourself. Tianfirong lowered his voice and threatened, then turned around and got into the crowd with Guyao Chi Changji. The little fat man looked up, and sure enough, all the monks around him were staring at him with murderous intent, so that the little fat man's hair stood on end, and suddenly he had no courage and fled with his head. The boy surnamed Tian, wait a minute. What is the origin of the little fat man? How dare you belittle our North Star sect? And scolded the senior brother. Don't let me catch him, otherwise I have to take him down. A North Star school disciple rushed out, but where is the little fat man? The figures of several people had no choice but to threaten with harsh words. There were a few people in the crowd who were squinting. 2 of them were children of the Tian family. They wanted to try their luck to see if they could pass the assessment of the North Star section. Where did they know someone who was open-mouthed and almost offended the entire North Star sect? There are also people from the Lu family, with malicious eyes flashing in their eyes. Why didn't they get the people from the Northern Star sect to catch them, so that they couldn't eat and walk around? As for the Gu family, they all went to Qian Valley, quite desperate. Leaving the North Star zone site, Tianfirong and Little Fatty accused each other of being dishonest, fighting and making trouble, and came to a place with the scent of medicine. This is Qian Valley's territory. Really, there are so many people. Guyao looked forward curiously, and then saw a few familiar faces, who were from the Gu family, and those people also found Guyao. He came, but his eyes avoided contact with him. Tianfirong and Little Fatty also kept silent, and Little Fatty no longer looked like he was filled with righteous indignation before. Guyang saw Guyao coming over and said in a low voice, "What is he doing here? Don't you think he made the top grade by Wadan? He has 4 spiritual roots and wastewood qualifications, and he also wants to become a direct disciple of Huguzu." Guyu had sharp eyes and said, "No, it should be to watch the fun. Have you seen the logo on his shirt? It has been stamped and branded by Tianfu Academy, so Guyao came to Tianfu Academy. No wonder he didn't want to stay in Yuanyang town." Guyu used to think it was strange. He didn't know what Guyao ran out for, but now that he knew where he was, he felt a little envious. Even a family member like them, even if Tianfu Academy had a good reputation, wouldn't dare to make an idea of it, just getting started. The fee is not something the family can pay for them, and good alchemy is the capital. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 56. This time, Qian Gu not only wanted to find out the alchemy master with excellent alchemy skills in the mouth of Hugu, but also took this opportunity to recruit some disciples. However, the requirements for accepting disciples in Qian Valley have always been strict. The main spiritual root is required to be the root of wood fire. The root of wood is suitable for planting spiritual grass, and the root of wood fire is suitable for becoming an alchemist. This requirement can wipe out a large number of monks. Some wanted to try their luck, and when they heard this, they left in despair. The 2 monks in charge of recruiting the disciples were the 2 direct disciples under Hugu, the eldest apprentice Sangshuo, and the second apprentice Wan Saiking, and the elders of Qian Valley assisted by the side. Only Ding, this Ding is the symbol of Qian Valley. Wan Saiking was extremely beautiful. Looking at the monks below who were rushing to come to the test, she asked the senior brother next to her with a smile, "Senior brother Sang, do we really want another junior brother or sister this time?" Hu Ting is obsessed with alchemy and does not like to manage mundane affairs, and the time he spends on his disciples is limited. Since he accepted these two direct disciples, he does not plan to accept them again unless there is something he particularly likes. Therefore, Sang Shuo and Wan Saiking's status in Qian Valley is quite high, even higher than that of Hu Ting's own grandson. After all, everyone knows that the master of Shaogu can't sit in Hu Whiting's turn. His aptitude, even with the help of his own grandfather, whether the foundation can be built or not is a question. But now there is a person who has been admitted by their master that his alchemy skills are extremely high, and he even wants to accept him as a direct disciple if he is of the right age. This makes Wan Saiking feel the slightest threat. What should their master say? Sex likes someone who comes from temperament. If he likes you, he will try his best to tune and teach you. If he thinks that your talent is mediocre, he will probably leave you to others to teach you, and he will only ask if he thinks about it. Originally, the little junior brother Hu Yk took up a lot of the master's attention. If another junior brother whose alchemy skills were affirmed by the master entered the door, she, the second senior sister whose alchemy skills were inferior to the master, could imagine her status under the master. Sang Shuo's eyes flashed. No one has appeared until now, either because he thinks too much of himself, and even Wei Qiang and the master don't take it seriously, or he is not young anymore. How can he have the face to run in front of the master? The junior brother is too ignorant, so that the master ran out in person to find him, but the younger junior brother has not even shown a face. Wan Saiking smiled. Let's not talk about the younger brother for the time being. The alchemist's alchemy technique is also highly praised by the master. The medicinal properties of various spirit herbs are perfectly integrated, and there are very few impurities, which is better than other high-grade alchemy. The quality of the medicine is even better. We have been studying alchemy with the master for years, and I really want to be able to play like this for a while. Sang Shuo didn't hear it quickly, and snorted coldly. He is known as the first person under the Valley Master in Qian Valley. When he first entered the valley, he showed excellent talent in alchemy. He will be the second Hu Valley Master in the future. Only 1 foot has stepped into the threshold of the 8th grade alchemy master. How can I ask which alchemist can compare with him under the foundation building stage of Tianlin continent? Now listening to the master compliment that person with his own ears, he has never heard the master use such compliments on himself, and Sang Shuo is jealous. Wan Saiking hooked the corner of her lower lip where Sang Shuo couldn't see it. She had already seen that the senior brother was dissatisfied with the man who praised the master. They looked down at the monks below, and the monks below also looked at them yearningly. Even if they didn't know their identities, they heard others say after they came. The identity of Master Shan Hugu's personal disciple is enough to make them envious. Not to mention, the eldest disciple is already capable of refining 8th grade medicinal pills, but he has not yet established a foundation. Such talent is worthy of the identity of the eldest disciple of Hu Guzu. After Gu Yao came, he also heard the praise and admiration of Sang Shuo and Wan Saiking from others, but those two were obviously extremely arrogant and dismissed the monks who came to sign up for the assessment below. 1. With a casual smile, as if watching a group of people act, in general, he has a general impression of these two disciples of Lord Hugu. If he hadn't known about Gu Yao's talent in alchemy, Tian Firong would probably be just as envious and jealous as other cultivators, but now he has the leisure to comment on the two of them. The young male cultivator was stunned. The female cultivator seemed to be enjoying it very much. After a while, many male disciples in the valley came to her side, and from time to time they said something to make her laugh. Qi Changjai folded his arms and watched coldly, and glanced at the little fat man Wei Xiao beside him. Didn't he envy them? Gu Yao immediately pricked up his ears and listened. He also found that the little fat man's expression was different from that of others. There was no envy or jealousy, but he seemed to be a little jealous. He knew Brother Ye very well. The little fat man opened his mouth to communicate. The little fat man suddenly looked at Chi Changai vigilantly, and took 2 steps back. Tian Firong, Ma Daha, noticed something was wrong, and pushed the little fat man and said, "What are you doing? You have a grudge against these 2 people? Anyway, I think Teacher Fang also doesn't like this Qian Valley and that Hu Valley Master. It's not a big deal if you don't like them." After hearing this, the little fat man couldn't maintain his original expression and seemed extremely entangled, and finally broke the jar and said, "Yes, I just don't like them. If it wasn't for my lack of cultivation, I would have tried to teach them a lesson." "Well, what are they?" Tian Firong was horrified, and quickly took the little fat man out of the crowd and wiped his cold sweat. Fortunately, no one cared about them at that time, otherwise they would be chased and killed by another force. "You really said it, you really don't want to live anymore. I just offended the Northern Star sect, and now I want to offend Kui Yang again. I thought I was brave enough, but I didn't expect you to have a character like you, little fat man. Brother admires it. But when you come out later, shouldn't you keep your distance from Fatty to avoid getting involved?" Tian Firong considered this possibility very seriously. The little fat man was in a bad mood, so he dumped him. "If you are timid, stay away from me." "That's not right, little fat man, who are you so angry at?" The more you tell him to stay away, the more Tian Firong quits. "I came to the stall in Qian Valley." Guyao followed behind the 2 of them, looked back in the direction of Kui Yangu, suddenly woke up, and lowered his voice incredulously, "Brother Ye, don't you suspect that the little fat man is that the second ancestor?" Although the little fat man's face did not match the portrait of Hu Yk they had seen, there were many ways to change his appearance in this world, and when he thought about the previous situation at the North Star sect, it became more and more suspicious. Chi Changai tilted his head to look at Guyao and said with a smile, "It's not impossible. In my opinion, he, the grandson of the valley owner, didn't seem to have a good life in Qian Valley. If it is as rumored, it is impossible for the little fat man to avoid seeing him all the time. After contacting him at this moment, the little fat man's own character is not very bad. But luck is not very good, for no reason because of Guyao. The matter of selling medicinal pills carried the name of stealing medicinal pills." Guyao rested his chin, looked at the back of the little fat man, and said, "I can probably imagine his situation in Qian Valley. Gu should have a loving heart for his grandson, but sometimes such a loving heart brings it's not necessarily a shelter, especially when his grandson has poor aptitude and is not suitable for alchemy." Guyao has a deep understanding of the cold treatment and harsh treatment suffered by poor aptitude. If the original aptitude is good, even if he is not loved by his father and hated by his stepmother, he should be trained for his gifted family and the ancient family head. People valued the future of the Gu family more, and other disciples of the Gu family would not even have the guts to bully him. I don't know if Hu Guzu himself is a careful person, or maybe not, otherwise there would be no such thing as the second generation ancestor leaving the valley. Chi Changai knew that Guyao thought of his own experience, and reached out to touch Guyao's head. Guyao raised his head and smiled. He has many years of experience, and he has medicinals and spiritual power. He is not a waste of firewood in other people's mouths, so he will not have such emotions, but people with bad aptitude are born in it is indeed a sad thing in this world of the weak. When he has enough strength in the future, maybe he can try to popularize his transformation potion, which can benefit at least some monks. Well, that's it. Guyao silently encouraged himself in his heart. Little Fatty had nowhere to go, so in the end, he followed Tian Firong back to the inn where the Tian family lived. Big brother Tian saw that his younger brother had made another friend in a short time. He was speechless and relieved. Although little Fatty's qualifications were also not good, they entered Tianfu together. After college, they can take care of each other. If Tianfu Academy were all about the same qualifications, Big Brother Tian felt that his younger brother wouldn't be too bad in such an environment, at least he wouldn't be hit. Following this line, senior brother Joe could easily get to the bottom of Guyao's 3 people, except for the little fat man who couldn't find out the calendar. The Tian family guard's mouth is not so strict. Senior brother Joe easily learned the situation of Guyao and Chi Changjai from their mouths. When he came back, he felt that this time he had picked up a treasure. I heard that on their way here, Chi Changjai, with one person's strength, killed a horned rhinoceros at the 7th or 8th level of Chi refining with one sword. The sword energy was extremely sharp, and the Tian family's guards admired it very much. Guyao is a son of a family in the same town as them, and he expelled himself from the family. Although that family is good at alchemy, the Tian family guards said that Guyao's alchemy far exceeds the ancient family. Look, I still pay a high price from them. I bought a Chi Hui pill. Senior brother Joe took out the pill that he had bought at a high price, and presented it to senior brother Zhang to say goodbye. As for Chi Changjai, I heard that the Gu family picked it up from outside the town. When he just picked it up, he was covered in wounds and was mistaken for an ordinary person. He didn't expect to be a cultivator, but also a very powerful sword cultivator, and Guyao has always been inseparable. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 57. The Ascension Conference lasted for several days, but the alchemist who refined the top-grade Baiwa pill never appeared. There are many monks who have claimed the medicine pills, but since the first day when many monks came to the door claiming to be medicine pill refiners, Kui Yanggu has set up a checkpoint and no longer let people in casually. This person needs to be with the beginner disciples. In addition to participating in the test, there is an additional assessment, that is, refining Baiwa Dan. As soon as the news was released, many cultivators died immediately, and their true level would be revealed as soon as alchemy was made. There are also people who can refine Baiwa Dan after passing the entry test, either by frying the furnace or refining the furnace waste pill, or after reluctantly refining the pill can only be regarded as a low-quality pill, and there is no doubt that it is not at all. It might be the elixir refiner, but such a person can still be accepted into Qian Valley. After listening to the reports of the 2 disciples, Huguzu sighed and waved his hands to let the disciples back down. City Lord Men walked in. Master Hugu has not found the child yet? The disciple has not harvested yet. Huguzu smiled bitterly and said, yes, neither of the 2 things are satisfactory. I have never raised a child, and I don't know how to get along with that child of Wei Cai. After he escaped, there was a huge crowd, and he deliberately hid. Where would he go to find it? If you don't look for it, you can't do it. Usually, he is very generous to his grandson, so he will not be short of medicinal pills and spiritual stones on his body. It is impossible for outsiders to not know about it, so he is very worried about the safety of his grandson. Then it's too late to regret. I didn't expect Lord Hugu to be a kind grandfather. I think Sun Jiren will have a natural appearance and will be safe and sound. City Lord Meng comforted. As long as he is in the Shifang city, the city lord will let the people below pay attention to Ling Sun's whereabouts. As soon as there is news, it will be sent to the owner of the valley. Thank you for Menching's righteousness. Guyao and Chi Changjai were sitting in the yard drinking tea. Tian Firong ran back from the outside in a hurry. Before entering the yard, he screamed, Guyao, Guyao, do you know where Lu Minzu of the Lu family went? The perfect man also came in, as if Guyao had to guess the answer quickly. Chi Changjai gave Tian Firong a cool look, and asked Xiao Ao's ex-fiancé for what. Not to mention Tian Firong, Guyao will forget about such a character. Remember that this person went on the road together, but because it is difficult to see her outside, she has a very small sense of presence, and Guyao also ignores it. Forget it, it seems that she has encountered an opportunity this time. Gu Yao curiously said, as far as I know, she is also of 3 spiritual roots. Could it be, is there any special physique? Judging from your appearance, it shouldn't be a bad place to go. Tian Furong poured a cup of tea and poured it down, then grinned and said, it's incredible, the Lu family is going crazy. This dead girl was actually picked by the North Star sect, and she was admitted to the North Star sect. I heard that she was actually pregnant. Sexual phoenix marrow body, as long as this physique is stimulated, her future cultivation speed will not be worse than that of double spiritual roots. So he immediately took her into the door, and an elder accepted her as a disciple on the spot. Mummy, this girl is really lucky. How can you not let such good luck meet once, the same 3 spiritual roots? The luck is so bad, this time the Lu family's tail is about to be raised to the sky. Fortunately, the Tian family is not bad. Gu Yao comforted him. The Tian family now has 2 foundation building cultivators. Tian Furong was just a little unconvinced. Except for his eldest brother and his aunt who entered Tianhaimen, there were only 2 people in the Tian family who entered a small sect that was not very conspicuous. They were disciples of the outer sect at the beginning, and the competition between the small sects was fierce. Strong, so life is not necessarily better in the Tian family in Yuanyang town. Compared with the Gu family and the Lu family, the Tian family has the least harvest. But it is useless to be unconvinced. Tian Furong can only hope that his eldest brother will one day improve his cultivation and leave Gu Yan and Lu Minzu behind, mad at the Gu and Lu families. As Tian Furong had expected, the Lu family's territory was full of joy and joy. He used to think that he was a dwarf, but now he held his head high. Even if he came out and encountered other powerful family members, he would not give in like before, but he was beaming with joy. Someone from the Xianbei family entered the Northern Star sect and became the elder's disciple. I used to think that Sister Minzu is very powerful, but I didn't expect it to be so amazing. Others don't say that she entered the North Star sect to be an outer disciple, but Sister Minzu became an elder's disciple as soon as she entered the door. This kind of honor is not for everyone. Enjoyed it? Pull it down. I don't know who was whispering what happened to Sister Minzu some time ago. You still hope that Sister Minzu will not hold grudges. A few young girls passed by, their expressions almost cracked when they tried to keep calm. When they heard this, they turned around and hurried back to the house. Before and on the way, they belittled Lu Minzu openly and secretly, thinking she would never climb again. When I got up, I wanted to step on her to the upper position. Where did I think that the twists and turns would turn, and she still had a day of prosperity? How could the experience of Feng Shui fall on her? Why is she the lucky one? The more he thought about it, the more unconvinced he became, and his silver teeth almost chattered. What they are worried about now is Lu Minzu's revenge. Even if she doesn't do it herself, as long as she mentions a word or two to the elders of the family, their status in the family will immediately drop. Thinking of the possible situation in the future, their hearts are full of endless regrets. Lu Minzu was personally sent back by the disciples of the North Star section after changing the gloomy situation before. Now Lu Minzu has regained her self-confidence. Lu Minzu was so excited herself that she was almost wiped out by the North Star sect, but she did not expect that she would have a special physique and was discovered by the elders of the section. The instant reversal made her cry with joy on the spot. Seeing the happy and relieved expressions of the elders, Lu Minzu clearly knew that her destiny will be different from now on. Root's descendants, thinking of these, her tears almost fell again. Now Minzu is the most promising junior in our Lu family. In the future, the family's resources will definitely be focused on Minzu. I believe that in 20 to 30 years, there will be a female foundation cultivator in our Lu family. The elder said with relief that they did not envy Tianru's situation. Fortunately, now that the Lu family has Lu Minzu, the conditions of the Northern Star sect are better than that of Tianhaimen. There were 2 foundation building cultivators, and the elder couldn't help laughing. When Lu Minzu has a firm foothold in the North Star sect in the future, the Lu family will rise to the next level, and the family will not be prosperous. Congratulations, little sister. Lu Minbei looked at his little sister surrounded by everyone, with a complicated and genuine joy. Thinking of his own situation, he felt even more disappointed in comparison. Especially when he heard that the elder said that the family resources would be tilted towards his younger sister in the future. He knew that in the future he would not be the first person in the younger generation of the family, but his own younger sister, and his heart was dull. Lu Minzu showed a relaxed smile. Brother should also work hard, we brothers and sisters work together. Yes, yes, Minzu is sensible, and will become the pillar of the Lu family together with your brother in the future, the elder said happily while holding his beard. Okay, Lu Minbei replied softly. In order to celebrate Lu Minzu becoming an inner disciple of the Northern Star sect, the Lu family and the captain decided to go to the restaurant for a meal. All the Lu family hula poured out, and Lu Minzu was naturally surrounded by everyone. When I came out, I happened to meet the Gu family. In the past, when the Lu family faced the Gu family, they always felt that they were dwarfs. Especially after Gu Yan was about to enter the Changxianmen, the Gu family was even more on their heads. Now the Lu family is not necessarily worse than the Gu family. After all, fire cannot quench near thirst. They also know about Gu Yan and Lu Minzu. Although they know that the Gu family did not do it authentically, they also know that this is the only way to do it. Now they can look at Gu Yan with a playful eye. Look at us Lu who gave up Gu Yan. My girl, now I have a good place to go, I wonder if Gu Yan has any regrets. The Gu family had the same mixed feelings when they saw the Lu family. Although the Gu family also had Gu Yan, they were not Gu Yan after all. Now Lu Minzu was accepted as a disciple by the elders of the Northern Star sect, and quickly distanced himself from their children, maybe in the future. To respectfully call her a senior. Lu Minzu walked out calmly, came to Gu Yan, raised his head slightly and said with a smile, "Cousin, I have become a disciple of the Northern Star sect, although I can't compare with my cousin's Changxianmen, but I am very satisfied with my cousin. In the future, I will follow the master to practice hard, and strive to build the foundation as soon as possible. Cousin, don't slack off." Gu Yan stared at Lu Minzu and said, "Congratulations to my cousin, I wish my cousin an early foundation." Lu Minzu giggled a few times, and then went away with the Lu family. Gu Yan stood there and watched for a while, until no one was seen. The Gu family who came out with Gu Yan didn't know what to say. They wouldn't think that Lu Minzu was still in love with her cousin. Looking at the eyes, it was completely different from before, as if she had grown up in a short period of time. Someone whispered, "I heard that the phoenix body is very beneficial to double cultivation, and it is of great help to the other half, but people who have obtained the phoenix body are willing to do so. It's a pity, the family didn't make a marriage appointment with the Lu family earlier. The marriage between the two has never been finalized. Now some people feel regretful. If they can marry Lu Minzu, it will be a lot of benefits. They don't believe that the Lu family will meet. Repent of quitting." Gu Yan clenched his fists. He knew better than others about the change in Lu Minzu's eyes. There was no love at all, only deserted. He understood the reason why his cousin said that. It was only because when Lu Minzu came to him and questioned him, he said that they would meet in the future. Taking a different path, they were not suitable anymore, and he didn't want to delay his cousin's good years. If he had known that his cousin had such a physique, he might not have given up so easily. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 58. Someone from the Lu family asked curiously, "Has the senior from Changxianmen not come yet?" Gu Yan just kept waiting like this. "I know about this." In fact, Gu Yan took the token to the city lord's mansion on the first day of his arrival. "I heard that the teleportation array is in the city lord's mansion, but he and the elders of the Gu family came out after not long." It seems to make them wait. In my opinion, Guyan who took the token is not as important as he thought, otherwise he would have been invited by City Lord Meng into the City Lord's mansion. I think too, he has at most one outer disciple. How can there be a bright future for Minzu's younger sister, the confident Lu family disciple said proudly. The corner of Lu Minzu's mouth curved. Yes, it seems that my cousin is not as important and unattainable as he imagined. After more than half a month, the Ascension Conference came to an end, and sects such as the Northern Star sect had stopped recruiting disciples. At this time, Tianfu Academy finally ushered in a crowd. Both Guyao and Tianfirong were called by senior brother Zhou to help. After being busy for a while, Guyao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It seemed that the status of Tianfu Academy was really bad. Those famous disciples called Tianfu Academy a garbage shelter. Although the popularity is booming, Teacher Fang is still angry every day, and his voice is the loudest in the audience. With Tianfirong there, who came from Yuanyang town to which sect, Guyao basically knew. For example, Lu Minbei finally entered the North Star sect, but everyone knew that he was brought in by his own sister. After all, now Lu Minzu had different identities. She brought an outer disciple in, and some people were willing to open the back door for her, so she didn't know whether Lu Minzu was aggrieved or happy. Guyu actually entered Qian Valley, Guyao said in surprise, vaguely remembering the little girl in his memory. Yeah, I heard that she entered with the main spirit root of the wood system. I have heard about the situation in the Qian Valley. Maybe she cultivated it in the direction of planting spirit grass after entering the valley, but even so, it is enough for the ancient family. People who think highly of themselves are envious. Guyu is not among the people who usually jump high, so Tianfirong's impression of her is not too bad. By the way, there is another guy named Guyang, you remember, he found a business firm to take refuge in, so he was an alchemist. His identity, he is quite shy. It seems that the firm will vigorously train him in the future, huh? Who believes it? Guyao smiled and said that it was not nothing. It also makes sense. I also heard that there are several children who are not from our three families, but have entered a good section. They must be so happy that their mouths are so happy, Tianfirong said with a smack. What Gu Ars has received is the difficulty of these parents and children. It is like how many parents and students eagerly look forward to each time they are admitted to colleges and universities in the Interstellar Alliance. Admission to the school is undoubtedly a great thing to inspire the whole family. A few people hid behind and chatted. The little fat man has been a little listless these days, making Guyao more and more think that he is the second-generation ancestor who is looking for outside. Senior brother Zhou strode forward, waved at them and said, "Come on, Senior Fang is going to take us to open our eyes, but not everyone has this honor, that is, you are the first to join." Tianfirong jumped up and asked curiously, "Senior brother Zhou, what are you doing?" Senior brother Zhou said with a smile, "Go to the city lord's mansion. I heard that people from Changxianmen are coming. You don't want to see knowledge? Okay. I'm going." Tianfirong jumped 3 steps away. He is the person who loves to join in the fun. How can he miss such a good thing? And then he realized something and looked back at Guyao. After all, Guyan, that token was handed over by Guyao. Would Guyao mind? Guyao got up and patted his butt, and said, "With such a good eye-opening opportunity, of course not to be missed." "Brother, yeah, don't you think so?" Xiaoao said. "Yes." Chi Changjai smiled calmly. Senior brother Zhou's eyes twitched. Since he knew that Chi Changjai could kill a horned rhino with a single sword, he couldn't treat this person as Guyao's entourage or a student who had just entered the academy. With this level of combat power, he should be willing to give in to the underdog. Okay, so these 2 days, even sending Chi Changjai hesitantly, in the end, it was senior brother Zhang who spoke. Although Chi Changjai looked indifferent, he did not refuse. Little Fatty didn't object either, so the 4 of them followed senior brother Zhou to teacher Fang. Besides senior brother Zhang, there was also a female student waiting there. They had known each other before, and it was after Guyao and the others who joined the academy. The little beauty, called Bai Xiu'er, has the best qualifications. In Tian Furong's words, why didn't she want to run to Tianfu Academy, and then she was thrown out by teacher Fang, and she stopped after several rolls. And then don't dare to be rude. The little beauties called people one by one, and they all called them senior brothers. Tian Furong was about to lean over and say something when teacher Fang impatiently waved his sleeves and threw out a flying instrument, saying, "Hurry up, don't waste time. The Shifang city is big enough, and it would take a lot of time to travel slowly. For monks in the foundation building period, there is no restriction on the air ban in the city, so Mr. Fang stood alone in front of the boat-shaped flying instrument, and the others followed behind to put on the instrument. Before they could stand firm, the flying instrument flew out. Behind him, the little fat man and Tian Furong rolled into a ball and screamed. Guyao is very lucky, fortunately, Brother Ye grabbed him when he was just starting, so he could stand firmly in the same place, and he didn't lose his temper like Tian Furong did. Bai Xiu'er also happened to be standing next to Brother Zhang. She was stabilized by senior Brother Jiang's wave, and when she saw the two people who fell into a ball and couldn't get up and screamed, Bai Xiu'er covered her mouth and giggled. When Tian Furong and little Fatty finally got up, they dared not speak out. Mr. Fang, who was standing at the head of the boat, did not open the protective cover, and the strong wind hit, blowing his hair like a wild snake, and his robes rattled, looking extremely wild. Soon he arrived at the most aura-rich place in the city Lord's mansion, which is located on a mountain peak. Teacher Fang reported that he was behind his house and was let in by the guards. Guyao was not sensitive. He clearly felt that the guards looked at them very delicately. It seems to have the meaning of what are these people coming to join in the fun. Mr. Fang is familiar with the door and the road, obviously he has come before, and took them to an open flat field. Many people have come here, and they have attracted the attention of the monks present. Teacher Fang didn't care, and led them swaggeringly past these monks. Brother Zhang always kept a smile on his face, but Brother Zhou was slightly uncomfortable, which showed that Brother Jiang's skills were deeper. Guyao was observing others, and found that Yudeo's eyes stopped on him for a long time. He turned his head and looked to the side, and saw Lu Minzu was looking at him in surprise. It was said that Lu Minzu's special physique was highly valued by the North Star sect, so she was brought here. Lu Minbei, who also joined the North Star sect, disappeared, and after scanning around, Guyu was also not found. Tian Furong's eyes are good, he found his brother long ago, and was winking at him, but after being discovered by Tian Ru, he stared at him coldly, and Tian Furong's scalp became numb and immediately honest. Tian Fei Yang twitched the corners of his mouth. He didn't expect the second brother to come here. He was surprised, but also very happy. Fang, I didn't expect you to come to this kind of occasion, so I'm not afraid that these people with you will be beaten to the point of becoming demons. Or are they as old-fashioned as you and self-righteous? After that, a yin and yang strange voice came from the side, which attracted Guyao and several people to look at them curiously. There happened to be a booth of people next to them. When they saw Tianfu College parked next to them, they frowned and wished to stay away from them, as if they were carrying infectious diseases. It was a middle-aged beautiful woman who mocked. Guyao and the others swept a circle around them, obviously disgusting. Mr. Fang glared at him, shrugged his sleeves and said, "It's really bad luck. I didn't expect you, an old witch, to find another place to stay. Let me tell you, people who meet their sect will stay away from me in the future. Far away, or you will beat them all down, but don't let me know that you are colluding with the disciples of the old witch." Teacher Fang was very straightforward, ignored the beautiful woman, and took the students to other places. His voice was loud and clear, which attracted many monks to look at him with strange eyes. Teacher Fang didn't care, and muttered that he walked over without seeing the place clearly. Isn't it bad luck? But the beautiful woman and the disciples around him were blushing with anger. If it wasn't for the wrong occasion, all of them rushed over, and the scholars could not be humiliated. Tianfirong and Little Fatty both stared at their scalps numb, suspecting that they would be caught and beaten by these angry guys as soon as they stepped out of the city lord's mansion. Teacher Fang didn't know how to pity Fragrance and cherish Jade at all. Being called an old witch by Teacher Fang's mouth is too good for hatred. Senior brother Zhang smiled helplessly. Senior brother Zhou also felt that his scalp was numb, and there would definitely be a fight before and after returning to the academy. Seeing the bewildered expressions of the younger brothers and sisters, senior brother Zhou explained in a low voice, "Those are Qingxiumen's disciples and Qingxiumen's elder Gan. Unfortunately, Qingxiumen and our Tianfu Academy are next to each other and compete with each other. When we crossed the site and went out to practice, there were many conflicts between the disciples of Qingxiumen and the students of our academy. Anyway, the conflicts between the two families have a long history. If we really want to run into each other in the future, just like Senior Fang said, try to get rid of them as much as possible. Otherwise, ask yourself for more blessings." But Gu Yao thinks it's more than that. Teacher Fang's mouth, although sometimes it's very bad, but this person's heart is not too bad, and his attitude towards the elder Gan can be described as the kind of old and dead. Maybe the occasion was wrong. Gu Yao felt that senior brother Zhou said part of it, and some truth was concealed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 59. Being stared at by many cultivators with garbage, trash eyes, Rao Shijuyao is also unable to bear it. Fortunately, City Lord Meng came out soon, and everyone withdrew their gazes to look at City Lord Meng and his party, and many bigwigs stepped forward to greet City Lord Meng. City Lord Meng nodded in greeting, and his attitude was not enthusiastic. However, this is the gap in status. This reaction has satisfied the bosses of various forces. City Lord Meng followed a lot of people, and Guyan was among them. Seeing others looking over, Guyan subconsciously puffed out his chest. That guy is really inside, that's called bad luck. Tianfirong also saw Guyan, and muttered unhappily, "Senior brother Zhou, who are the others?" The little fat man glanced at it, then withdrew his gaze, and lowered his eyebrows. Senior brother Zhou also introduced to several people in a low voice, walking beside City Lord Meng is Lord Hugu, who had been making a lot of trouble before. I didn't expect such a big movement, but in the end, I didn't find the second ancestor, and I didn't receive what I wanted. Apprentice. Gu Yao glanced at him. The cultivator looked middle-aged, wearing a blue robe. He looked extremely elegant, and there seemed to be a trace of sadness between his eyebrows. I have to say that his skin was still pretty good, and his two disciples were a few steps behind. In the back, the arrogance between the eyebrows could not be concealed. There are also a few enshrined in the city lord's mansion. They are all very powerful monks. I have only seen two of them, and others have heard of them. I heard that there is an ancient family who came with you and holds the Changxianmen token. It must be the young monk in Chinese clothes at the back. Although the Changxianmen token didn't make much waves in the city lord's mansion, but some of these people have heard about it. Because of Gu Yao and Tianfirong, senior brother Zhou knows more than others. He looks at Gu Yao without a trace of regret. Not everyone can say let go, just to exchange for the freedom to leave the ancient family. Unexpectedly, junior brother Gu Yao looks warm, but he is a very courageous person. There are also those two young men and women, who are very likely to be monks with outstanding qualifications that Meng Qinzu found. They should have been brought into Changxianmen together. Gu Yao could see that the man and the woman were about 12 or 13 years old, and their cultivation base was still shallow, but they didn't seem to want to stand with Guyan. The girl could see from a young age that her appearance will be very outstanding when she grows up, even if Wan Saiking of Qian Valley is standing beside her at this moment, she has no advantage. Huh? That girl is the body of Xuanyan. A voice suddenly came from Guyao's mind. Guyao thought that Su Chen was not interested, but he had been watching silently. Guyao recalled the introduction to the body of Xuanyan in the book he had read. Not to mention her outstanding appearance, the most important point is that, isn't it that this girl is very suitable for training into a cauldron? So does this girl know her future destiny? Su Chen shook his head and said that it depends on what kind of sect the so-called Changxianmen is. The body of Xuanyan itself is also growing very fast. Guyao couldn't answer these words. He didn't know anything about Changxian section, he only knew that it was a section. What he saw so far made him feel more and more that Changxian sect was in a position of absolute control over Tianlin continent. Look at the body of Ru Xuanyan and found it and sent it to Changxianmen, presumably another young man's aptitude is no less than Xuanyan's. Compared with these two people, Guyan is like a chicken mixed in with the swans. Guyao couldn't help but feel fortunate. Fortunately, he didn't want to enter Changxian Gate himself. After saying hello to everyone, Meng Chenzu walked to the center of the flat ground, where the teleportation formation was. After Meng Chenzu played a few tricks, a magnificent teleportation formation was revealed in front of everyone. Guyao stood on tiptoe behind the crowd. Watching from the tiptoe, the existence of the teleportation array is tantamount to a fetish to him. If there is a teleportation array in the Star Alliance, it would be very convenient. However, it may be similar to an artificial wormhole, which can transmit long-distance space, but this teleportation array can ignore the location and can be erected anywhere, and as long as the array is not damaged, the transmission is very stable. Unlike artificial wormholes, you first need to select an appropriate spatial coordinate, and entering artificial wormholes is not foolproof. Passing through worker wormholes is not only dangerous, but also takes time. Coming. As soon as the sound fell, the teleportation formation changed significantly. After a flash of light, it burst into light, and finally formed a layer of shield, which indicated that the opposite side was already teleporting. This shield not only prevented people from standing inside, there is also the protection of ongoing transmissions. When the protective cover was just constructed, 3 figures appeared out of thin air inside the protective cover, above the teleportation array, and immediately, the light cover trembled and disappeared into the air as countless light spots. City Lord Meng changed his indifferent expression before, strode forward with a respectful look on his face, and saluted the young cultivator at the head. It turns out that it was Senior Brother Yan who took over the task this time. Meng Wei is polite, Senior Brother worked hard all the way. As soon as these words came out, the expressions of the cultivators became more respectful. City Lord Meng called the other party a Senior Brother, didn't he mean that the other party was also a Jindan cultivator? And he looks so young, which is enough to show that he has not practiced for a long time. Unless he takes medicines such as Dingy and Dan, it is impossible to keep his appearance so young. The cultivator looks younger. It was the 2 arrogant-looking foundation-building cultivators behind. Not to mention their youth, their aura was also very strong, not inferior to those of the foundation-building cultivators who were present. It was no wonder that they looked around and then showed disdain and took it back. Look. Senior Brother Meng, don't be polite, let me leave, and don't need to gather here. Senior Brother Yan's face was stern, and he didn't seem to be close. Obviously, he didn't like being surrounded by people. City Lord Meng hurriedly said, Senior Brother, I would like to listen to my brother's teachings, and I will invite you to the mansion for a rest later. Then he turned to the monks present and said, everyone, let's go now. If there is anything wrong, Meng will notify you separately. Meng Chen Lord is very polite, we will leave now. It can be seen that Senior Brother Yan is not very happy. who dares to stay without knowing the current affairs, Jindan cultivator can turn them into ashes with a wave of his hand. It is not so easy to climb the relationship, so everyone said goodbye, with regrets to leave with their respective disciples. Guyan was repeatedly attacked, but he was very excited at this moment. Seeing the fear of others in Changxianmen, the elders with eyes higher than the top, seeing the seniors of Changxianmen, still had to be obedient and let them do it. Do whatever, and he entered such a sect. Brother Yan, please, 2 nephews, City Lord Meng led the way. Senior brother Yan nodded coldly and followed City Lord Meng to the place where he stayed. Mr. Fang took his students out of the City Lord's mansion, saying that he brought them here to open their eyes, but at the moment I feel a little ashamed. This is not an eye-opener, but to attack his own students. He is not serious. Those who are afraid, look at a Jindan cultivator like senior brother Yan, and they are very envious. They are also Jindan. Why is City Lord Meng so respectful to brother Yan? It is not because City Lord Meng is almost at the end, and brother Yan still has a bright future. Does not necessarily stop at Jindan, and also knows that his status in Changxianmen is not low. There was a cold snort from the side. Teacher Fang lazily opened his eyelids and looked over. It was Qin Xiuman and his party. It was the elder Gan who snorted coldly, but this time Teacher Fang only glanced at it, and then withdrew his gaze again, without even the desire to argue. Fortunately, Elder Gan just snorted coldly and left with his disciples, also not in the mood to do extra things. Teacher Fang released the flying instrument. After the instrument flew up, it was different from when he came. This time he said earnestly, "See, this is the reality. In the Tianlin continent, even if it is as noble as the City Lord and as powerful as the Northern Star sect, in front of Changxianmen, you still have to bow and kneel, so others may not give you a single glance. But they do this because the spiritual energy of Tianlin continent is thin and resources are lacking." This kind of reality made Teacher Fang very powerless. He glanced at Guyao and said, "Perhaps Guyao, one day you will regret giving up the token of Changxianmen, even if it is a disciple of the outer sect of Changxianmen. Compared with the inner disciples of the Northern Star sect, there are also infinite possibilities. Do you regret it?" Guyao only knew that he didn't regret it now, because if he didn't give up, he wouldn't even be able to get out of Yuanyang town. Only by living can one look to the future, otherwise the future will never start. Guyao smiled, not surprised that his situation was known to the academy. After all, it was a matter of the open. He asked, "Is there no other way to leave the Tianlin continent except through the teleportation array and relying on the Changxianmen to lead the way?" "Yet," Teacher Fang said with a serious expression, "yes, but every road is full of endless dangers. The Tianlin continent is surrounded by boundless seas, and the situation at sea is the most dangerous and unpredictable. Anyone who enters the sea will die, or even not yet." Senior brother Zhang and senior brother Zhou also had a rare solemn expression. Even if the foundation was successfully established here, there was no hope of forming an elixir. The hope of forming an elixir was very slim. "Senior Fang, who are the 2 teenagers who are with the City Lord?" Senior brother Zhou asked, cheering up. Mr. Fang followed the change of topic and said, "They are all good seedlings that the City Lord's mansion has found from all over the world. I heard that one is a single type fire spirit root, and the other is a double spirit root, but it has a special physique and is not inferior to a single spirit. There are so many roots, although such a good seedling makes all sects jealous, it is better to send it to Changxianmen than to stay." Guyao thought to himself, "It seems that outsiders don't know that the girl has a Swanyan constitution." Teacher Fang put down Guyao and the others halfway, and then walked away. Guyao and the others were not in the mood to continue hanging out and went back to the inn together. The little fat man went out halfway, and no one took it seriously. In the City Lord's mansion, a guard suddenly approached Huguzu. "Huguzu," someone indicated that the letter should be sent to Huguzu. "Transmigration, First Class Immortal Husband. Author, North Wind Blows. Chapter 60. Why are you guarding the door? I don't know that those monks outside have ulterior motives, and they run errands to deliver letters for such people? Master, I didn't expect those guys to give up, and there are still people who want to come and try their luck, that nameless alchemist. Before Huguzo could speak, Sangshuo, who came out from behind, scolded the delivery guard. Shut up. Huguzo looked at the guard with an uneasy look, and stopped his apprentice aloud. I don't like the attitude of my apprentices. Anyway, they are guests. These guards represent the image of the city lord's mansion. Wouldn't it be a shame to scold them at will? Master. Sangshuo was shocked. Huguzo was too lazy to pay attention to him, and smiled apologetically at the guard. The guard was flattered this time and hurriedly wrote the letter. Offer it and explain. The person who delivered the letter said that it must be handed over to the owner of the valley. The letter contains the whereabouts of young Master Hu. Sangshuo groaned in his heart, and then he didn't take it seriously. It wasn't that the monks outside came up with new tricks, trying to attract the attention of the master, so he pouted in disdain. Huguzo was overjoyed, and hurriedly grabbed the letter and opened it. After a quick glance, even his breath changed. Where's the person who sent the letter? Take me to see him, quickly. Seeing this, the guard guessed that the letter was really related to young Master Hu, so he didn't know if he was being held hostage or what was going on. After searching around, there was no trace. When Huguzo asked the messenger again, the guard realized that he couldn't remember what the messenger looked like, and he couldn't help sweating profusely. Another guard saw that Huguzo was in a hurry, so he could not help but ask, Huguzo, I don't know who the messenger is. That's my grandson, the child of YK. That child would rather deliver a letter than show up to see me. Huguzo regretted that he had discovered it too late. Can catch people and bring them back. Sangshuo and Wan Saiking, who came out together, looked at each other when they heard this, but no one thought that it was a letter sent by the second ancestor himself. What did he mean? Now that the master has determined that the younger brother is in Shifang City, do you want to continue to look for people here? Sangshuo was still regretting his previous recklessness. He wondered if it would leave a bad impression on the master. He couldn't help complaining about YK, who didn't know where he was. All the people of Qian Valley turned their backs. Wan Saiking rolled her eyes, stepped forward and said, Master, Gilai can't be separated from Master. Why don't Saiking stay here instead of Master, and continue to find a younger brother for Master? Don't worry, Master, younger brother G. Human beings have their own nature. Huguzo looked at Wan Saiking very gratified. Finally, the two apprentices let him not to worry too much, otherwise he would not know how the day would pass. Master, I will stay for 2 more days. After the seniors from Changxianmen leave, I'll go back. Yes, Master. Sangshuo regretted that the opportunity was taken away by the junior sister, and then rushed to express, Master, I will take a few people out to check now. Since the junior brother has appeared here, I must have left some clues. Okay, you are all sensible, Master, I am very happy. Master, then I'll go. Sangshuo secretly cast a smug look at Wan Saiking, bowed to Master, turned around and strode away. Wan Saiking sneered in her heart, she wouldn't take this opportunity to show her merit. The little junior brother could escape from the Qian Valley, and now he can find people with just a few people in the door? The eldest brother will definitely be busy for nothing, but in the end he won't be able to get it. Huguzo turned out the letter in his hand again. There were only a few words on it, claiming that his grandson was all right, and he wanted to practice outside himself to reassure his grandfather, but how could Huguzo rest assured? How could this child be so stubborn? Tianfirong brought back a piece of news. The largest commercial firm in the city will hold an auction tomorrow. Do you want to go take a look? I heard that the people from the various sects have not left yet, just waiting for the auction to be held, And Tianfirong winked and said, I heard that the three people brought some good things from Changxianmen, so, the owner behind this business must be the city lord's mansion, otherwise it can be the biggest in Shifang city. This means that there must be a lot of good things at the auction, but the problem is that the better the things are, Guyao can only look at it. But I couldn't get a little splash in there, so I went. Is it just an eye addiction? But Guyao still asked Chi Changjai, brother, yeah, do you want to go? Why don't we go over and open our eyes? There was a smile in Chi Changjai's eyes, where he couldn't see that Guyao wanted to go, so he had to drag him up, nodded and said, okay, then go and open your eyes. Tianfirong danced with joy. Then it's settled, I'll ask the little fat man again. This guy doesn't know what's going on, he seems to have changed a person. While muttering, he went out one by one, looking for someone to go. The next day, the little fat man was still taken by Tianfirong. The four of them and the Tian family did not act together, so they would not follow the elders to join in the fun. The family would definitely have something to bid for, and maybe they were also waiting for this opportunity. The auction house is located on the edge of the central square. Countless cultivators are waiting outside. When I ask someone, I know that the entrance fee alone costs 10 spirit stones. When I came to Shifang city, I discovered that the spirit stone was not flowered at all. Seeing Guyao's face reluctantly, Chi Changjai took out 20 spirit stones and took him in. The little fat man also threw out 20 and brought Tianfirong to follow. The four of them were young at first sight, but they made such a move. Generous, let people wandering outside see all kinds of envy and jealousy. What are the identities of those few? It's really lavish to take out the spirit stones. I seem to have seen it before, at Tianfu Academy. It's no wonder that they are rich. Those who can enter the Tianfu Academy are all second-generation ancestors who are not bad. Their luck in reincarnation is really good. Guyao is no stranger to the auction. It is similar to the scene in the Interstellar Alliance. Once Guyao's potion was a very popular auction item in major auctions, but now he can only find a corner to sit down and wait for the auction to start. I can't help but miss the glorious days of the past. One person touched behind them and was about to reach out to pat their shoulders when Chi Changjai suddenly turned his head, but the person who wanted to take a candid photo was almost frightened. Seeing Chi Changjai looking at him with an emotionless gaze, senior brother Zhou felt at a loss when he was caught by senior brother Zhang, and said uncomfortably, young master Chi is also interested in watching the auction. I happen to see a few of them. The younger brother is here, and he came here specially to say hello. Really, just to say hello, not to scare people on purpose, senior brother Zhou tried to convince Chi Changjai with his sincere eyes. Chi Changjai twitched the corner of his mouth, then turned his head back with no expression on his face and no response. Fortunately, the three of Guyao warmly greeted senior brother Zhou, which saved him a little bit of self-esteem. Senior brother Zhou pointed out the direction to the three of Guyao. It turns out that Tianfu Academy has a bad reputation, but there are still the dean and a few monks in the late stage of foundation establishment, so the auction house still arranged a box for the sake of face, and senior brother Zhou also. It was when looking down from the private room that the three of them seemed to be groping in. Senior brother Zhou was unwilling to go back to the private room. He insisted on squeezing with them. After sitting down, he said, Senior Fang's air pressure has been too low for the past 2 days. I have been in the private room with him, and I dare not even say a word. If he died, senior brother Zhang and junior sister Bai would adapt well. Fortunately, you are here. He had an excuse to run out, and he had to go back after he couldn't think of it. Is it because of someone from Changxianmen? Guyao asked. Senior brother Zhou glanced around and saw that no one was paying attention to them, so he lowered his voice and said, what the senior said that day was only one aspect. You don't know, this Changxianman has come here every 10 years, although he brought some things here, but they have looted more things in the past. Why do you think the people of Changxianmen have to wait for the auction to end? It is not to take advantage of this opportunity to collect money, and also, including our Tianfu Academy, all it must be offered to the city lord's mansion on a regular basis. The source of this offering is naturally Changxianmen. If things go on like this, the Tianlin continent will become poorer and poorer. He has heard that there were still talented cultivators who succeeded in forming elixir, but later the more it's getting harder. Gu Yao can only pat him on the shoulder comfortingly. The situation is stronger than others, and the weak can only bow their heads and be slaughtered. Maybe in 1,000 years, even building a foundation will be difficult, and it will become a situation like Yuan Yangtown. When the hall was full of people, the auction finally started. The one who presided over the auction was a female cultivator in the foundation building stage. "Stop talking nonsense, let's go to the first auction item first, Yungzia pill, an 8th grade high-grade medicinal pill, which can help a foundation building cultivator to advance to a small rank. The starting price is 100 spirit stones, and each increase shall not be less than 10 spirit stones. Start bidding." On the display stand in the center, there is a light curtain that projects the auction items. The Yungzia pill seems to be shrouded in clouds and mist, and there are faint golden patterns flashing across the hall. The hall is suddenly pumped. This is a high-grade pill. Press the bidder to start bidding. In a short period of time, the price quickly climbed to thousands of spirit stones. Hearing that Gu Yao was gasping for breath at first, he finally became numb. Gu Yao said, "I didn't expect that there are quite a lot of rich people, but I have little knowledge. This is just the beginning. How many spirit stones can be collected in the entire auction is astronomical to him." "That's a high-grade pill," senior brother Joe said clearly. "Even if Huguzu may not be able to refine it, if you miss this opportunity, you may have to wait 10 years before you can come across such a pill again, but you can't bid hard.